The Democrat Party in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, surrounding the White House, they didn't set the Church of the Presidents on fire. They did vandalize the heck out of the monuments in Lafayette Park, but there were no arrests. There will be no jail sentences. There will be no 22-year sentences like Enrique Tarrio of the Proud Boys, who was in a hotel room in Baltimore on January 6th. But as an African-American and Cuban-American, he was given 22 years in prison for his participation in a rally that he did not attend, in which he did not participate. Or to the extent that he did it from a hotel room in Baltimore. And a 75-year-old woman, a grandmother, sentenced last week to 2 years in prison for blocking an abortion clinic where the Associated Press was very upset because a woman showed up at the abortion clinic. She was in labor at the time, and they're like, hey, you can't block her. She's in labor. She's only got a couple of minutes left to get the old abortion there. Got to harvest those organs. Isn't that amazing? We've got all kinds of remarkable stuff. Well, happy Monday to you, and welcome back once again. We continue to be at 888-630-9625. The Democrat Party is the party of jihad. They're the party of radical Islamic terrorism. They're the party of genocidal anti-Semitism. They're the party of looting your neighborhood stores and beyond, looting your CVS and your Walgreens out of business. They're the party of carjacking. Carjacking, there's a story that I shared with you last week in Washington, D.C. A young Democrat woman jumped into a car at the Washington Hospital Center. You see, a 55-year-old woman with MS was brought to the emergency room by her daughter because she was that unwell. It was time to go to the emergency room. And when the daughter pulled up to the emergency room entrance, she walked in to get a wheelchair for her mother. When she walked in to get a wheelchair for her mother to bring her safely into the emergency room at the Washington Hospital Center, a young Democrat woman jumped in the car with mom in the car and stole it. A high-speed race across Washington, D.C. until she crashed. She literally crashed into the office of our Attorney General, in effect, for Washington, D.C., the U.S. Attorney, the lead prosecutor, crashed into that building where the lead prosecutor in Washington, D.C. lives, and Kayla Kanisha Brown, 22 years old, stole the car with the woman in it, the 55-year-old woman. The 55-year-old woman, because the car crashed in a very heavily damaged car because of the crash it wasn't even a high-speed chase. It was just careening through the city and then crashed into the building that houses the U.S. Attorney and killed the woman. The woman was killed, right? Because this young Democrat, 22-year-old Kayla Kanisha Brown, she stole the car from the emergency room entrance, crashed into the U.S. Attorney's office, killing the 55-year-old woman that was being rushed to the emergency room by her daughter. But Leslie Marie Gaines was killed, and now the headline is, listen to this, prosecutors and the police arrested Kanisha and Kayla Kanisha Brown. They arrested her and they charged her with murder and kidnapping, and then the left-wing prosecutor here, who is a Soros or as good as Soros kind of prosecutor, and here's the headline from NBC4 in Washington. Prosecutors drop murder, kidnapping charges in D.C. carjacking case. Say, that seems like a good idea. So the family of the woman that was killed in the car crash after being kidnapped by 22-year-old Kayla Kanisha Brown, just amazing stuff. Now, she's being held, amazingly, at least today, but the prosecutor will doubtless let her out without bail in no time at all, too. Now that the serious charges have been dropped, they're like, well, we don't know what the cause of death. Maybe the 55-year-old woman who had been rushed to the emergency room just died of natural causes. You know, what's the big deal there? And somebody in the defense wing is saying, How do we know that Kayla Kenesha Brown even knew that there was a woman in the car? Well, because it was a car, and she stole it from the entrance of the emergency room. That's how you would know. Just amazing. So they dropped the charges. They dropped the murder charges. They dropped the kidnapping charges. Now they're going to charge her with like taking a car without a weapon. That's it, but not kidnapping and not killing the woman, because Democrats want more murder, and they get more murder. Last year, we had the highest number of murders in 26 years in Washington, D.C. And what do we have? 960 carjackings last year. We're 61 square miles, not counting the Potomac River and the Anacostia River. Isn't that amazing? Also in Washington over the weekend, a staffer for a member of Congress was robbed at gunpoint. In fact, more than one staffer. One attacker took a watch. The other took a fist to the face. Representative Collins' staffer robbed at gunpoint is the headline. And isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. The city of Washington, D.C. is not safe. Congressman Collins, don't come here. I live here. My best girl and I, we live here. We went down to the communist savage genocide march, pro-genocide march in Washington, D.C. But this is a pretty amazing one. Congressman Collins tweeting, posting early this morning, 3 men attempted to rob one of my staffers and a friend at gunpoint in Navy Yard. Navy Yard is a neighborhood. You'll find the Nationals baseball park there, recently developed, gentrified. They're anti-gentrification, you know. And also the Marine Corps barracks, 8th and I, that would count as Navy Yard neighborhood too. One attacker took a watch. The other took a fist to the face. Our nation's capital has become a war zone because of pro-criminal policies peddled by D.C.'s government. Well, Congressman, you know, I've been an advocate for quite some time of taking Washington, D.C. back and putting it in the hands of Congress because, you know, the Democrats who run this place shouldn't be allowed to run a soda pop stand. Honestly, amazing stuff. So these member of Congress, a staffer, Mike Collins, and the staffer, just amazing stuff. Robbed at gunpoint. And, you know, we had, who else did we have? We had a Democrat member of Congress carjacked in Washington, D.C. Henry Cuellar, that's right, of Texas. And who else? We had another member of Congress, a woman who was robbed in the elevator of her building. That was close to the Navy Yard also, as a matter of fact, a newly gentrified neighborhood because Democrats, well, they're not on our side. To say they're not on our side would be fair and true. Just amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party. So let the criminals go, put them back on the street. The woman is killed in a carjacking from an emergency room at the Washington Medical Center. She's arrested. The police charge her with kidnapping, murder, carjacking. The Democrat Party prosecutor drops the murder charge, drops the kidnapping charge. Will probably drop the carjacking charge at some point. Say, well, how could she know there was a 55-year-old woman sitting in the passenger seat of the front seat of the car? How's she supposed to know these things? Honestly, people? And the answer is, yeah, honestly, this is what they do. This is Democrats running the government. I'm telling you. So another member of Congress, another victim of crime, not the member himself, but a staffer. Just amazing stuff. Just amazing. I'm telling you. What are they lying to us about today? You betcha. The Daily Caller representative from Georgia, Republican, Mike Collins, said Sunday afternoon that one of his staffers was robbed at gunpoint in Washington, D.C. Collins took to X and explained that his staffer on his team and a friend allegedly robbed at gunpoint early Sunday by 3 men in the southeast Washington, D.C. neighborhood of Navy Yard. While the staffer and another individual were not identified by Collins, the Republican congressman claimed one attacker had taken a watch, while another was punched in the face by one of the victims. I like that. Just amazing stuff. Metropolitan Police Department officials confirmed the attack to the Daily Caller, stating around 1:58 a.m. Nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. Didn't your mother tell you? It's only 2 minutes to 2. They might have been in their cars by 2. Officials responded to the call, the report of a robbery. Multiple suspects had been present, including one possessing a gun. Following the attack, the suspects fled by vehicle, maybe carjacked, but the prosecutor will drop the charge. Posting an image of the car and a license plate, although it's pretty blurry, from the Metropolitan Police Department. But, the Metropolitan Police Department, they go out and they arrest the bad guys, and then the Democrat prosecutor drops the charges because they're Democrats. And they know the criminals are their friends, their voters, their supporters, their sons, their daughters. Sometimes neither their sons nor their daughters, but somewhere in between. Man, oh man, oh man. So we got that going. We got your Democrat news all over the place. Got your kidnapping, murder, just dropped the charges. Got the member of Congress being attacked, his staffer being attacked, rather. And also we learned over the weekend, Border Patrol memo that came out tells agents in a key sector where millions are flowing through illegally into the country to release migrants from nearly all Eastern Hemisphere countries. Memo sent after President Biden's phony baloney executive order, which was really just a proclamation banning asylum for most illegals, took effect last week, but that was a lie. It was full of deceptive language. And now country after country has been put on a list and saying, just let them go. There are more than 100 countries in the Eastern Hemisphere, meaning that despite the Department of Homeland Security, Joe Biden's threats of consequences, promise to remove migrants who cross illegally under the new executive order, which isn't really an executive order. There are entire swaths, like anybody underage, anybody 17 years or younger is waived in, right? And then, amazingly, there's a long list of countries where they just say, well, we're going to let them go. If they're from Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or Russia or Georgia, the old Soviet Georgia, not the state of Georgia, obviously. And on it goes, long list of countries, Moldova, Kyrgyzstan, just let them go. We've had tens of thousands of Chinese come in. Who knows how many thousands from Middle Eastern countries. And your Democrat Party, they're the party of open borders, the party of carjacking, the party of genocide against the Jews, the party of fags for Hamas, which makes that's like Jews for Hitler. It just makes no sense whatsoever. It's so incredibly ignorant, so incredibly unintelligent, that it's almost impossible to believe that level of ignorance exists. Yet it does. Hey, you're tired of buying and scheduling expensive HEPA filter replacements for your air purifiers? Well, say goodbye to nasty home orders and to costly filters, replacement filters on your air purifiers with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier, because the Thunderstorm eliminates bad smells and it eliminates replacement filters with its Oxy technology. Odors in your home will disappear in a matter of seconds. Nasty smells from dirty laundry, pets, cooking, nasty mildewy smells, even left-wing protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And no more expensive filters to have to buy and replace again and again, month after month. Forget about that. We've got 2 of them at home. They're only this big. You can hold one in your hand. Just turn it on and forget about it. It's going to quietly work in the background, cleaning and freshening the air in your home or your office. The Thunderstorm will get rid of all stinky odors with no filters to buy. Plus, the Thunderstorm in your bedroom, family room, kitchen, basement, put it anywhere. They make great gifts, too. And right now, get $200 off the 3-pack for whole home protection. All you have to do is visit EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. Yeah, they come up with these signs, and I've been saying this for a lot of years. They're not on our side. They're not on our side. I'm just scratching the surface on the lunacy that the Democrat Party has provided me this weekend. And my best girl and I, we went down to the loony commie Kill the Jews march. They surrounded the White House. Joe Biden was there. That they probably didn't even know that. Also, elections in Europe over the weekend, and the radical left-wing extremist tyrannical Jew killers, the Democrat Party. They're very upset. They say the far right is taking over Europe. And in Argentina, they're doing away with their ministry of, what is the ministry? It's the Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. I don't know how they're going to survive. No. Let's grab a phone call. Michael, let's go to Dave calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. Dave is here. Dave, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Hey.
Hey, Chris. Before I get to my point, I got a quick question for you because I know you talk about your best girl a lot. Do you ever leave your best girl home on a Saturday night? You can't. Right?
No, I don't. No.
You can't leave your best girl home on a Saturday night.
That's right. Yeah, those are song lyrics.
Here's my point. You said that you have long advocated Congress taking over the management of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I think this is a day for celebration. We finally found something that Congress can do better than the people who are already doing it, which is a pretty low bar, if you ask me.
Very, very, and I've struggled with that. But D.C. is so corrupt and so ignorant, so third world, the city government, from Trayon White, who thinks that the Rothschilds, a Jewish family, controls the weather and that make it snow so they can take over. And he was just reelected, by the way, in a landslide, Trayon White, who thinks the Jews control the weather. Yeah, the Congress could only make things better in Washington, D.C. That's how bad it is in D.C. So many wild things to talk about. And Dave, our last brilliant caller, Dave, started out with, he asked me if I leave my best girl home on a Saturday night. And that was a reference to Beach Boys lyrics from I Get Around, the song I Get Around. And it's kind of funny, Dave, because I got to say, it never even occurred to me before. And I use, I describe my best girl as my best girl, in part because I don't use her name here, and at her request, of course. And I had never quite picked up on that before, but it's true. In the Beach Boys song "I Get Around," there is a passage: "We always take my car because it's never been beat, and we've never missed yet with the girls we meet." Because the boys, they're out on Saturday night with their friends and their cool cars and meeting new girls all the time. And then the Beach Boys lyrics, they go, none of the guys go steady because it wouldn't be right to leave your best girl home now on Saturday night. See? And that's what Dave was pointing to. And I had never picked up on that best girl reference in the Beach Boys song. So kind of a fun point. And Dave put it out there as almost a throwaway. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I know what he's talking about there. All right, now let me go to, because there are so many crazy stories. One of the funny stories today is that the government of Argentina is doing away, and their president Milei, who is on the side of civilization, and the left is very angry, very, very angry with countries that are moving to the right instead of the left. And it is because the left is completely insane, mentally ill, crazy, open borders, free flow of drugs, cartels in charge, Iran, jihadis, wipe out Israel from the river to the sea. The left is, they're carjacking you and killing ladies and then not charging the people with murder and carjacking, even though when this lady's dead after being carjacked, because the left is completely insane. And they're protesting, and my best girl and I were down there on Saturday, these lunatics in front of the White House with the beep Israel, stand with Hamas. This crusty 70-year-old guy with his sun hat, and he's probably got all his sunblock on because he's worried about his health. But he's got the F word on his sign with the Israeli flag and a red circle slashed out. Beep Israel, stand with Hamas. That's your Democrat Party. They're flooding the United States with illegal aliens from every beephole country in the world. They're flooding Western Europe with illegal aliens and jihadis from every beephole country in the world, mostly North Africa and the Middle East and some sub-Saharan Africa too. But never mind that. In Argentina, the story is, Argentina President Javier Milei has announced that he has fully closed down the Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. I'm sure they call it like the MWGD, right? Because you got to abbreviate everything. So they've got and Senator Mike Lee, Republican Senator Mike Lee, who's a good guy and a smart guy and a funny guy, he tweeted out the report that Argentina is shutting down their Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. And Senator Mike Lee says, how will Argentina survive without a Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity? Good question, Senator. It's a tough call. And the headline, and this gets me going. We point out, my best girl points out every day, the Washington Post is full of references to the far right. Everybody's on the far right. If you're pro-life, you're far right. If you go to Catholic church, you're far right. If you believe in the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, you're far right. The Second Amendment, you're far right. Everything's far right, right? So here's the Guardian out of the United Kingdom. Argentina's far-right president poised to shut down anti-gender violence agency. Well, I got an idea. Maybe the lefties should stop being violent with women, you bunch of animals. Honestly. Milei confirms the closure of the former Ministry of Women, Gender, and Diversity. Just amazing stuff, and there are headlines all over the world. Now, I had my Washington Post delivered today, amazingly, on the front page, European Parliament projected to tilt right. And they have 4 typists working on this story for the Washington Post. None of them probably in Brussels, but the dateline is Brussels. Early forecasts in the European Parliament elections on Sunday showed voters punishing ruling centrists and throwing support behind far-right parties, most notably in France, where disastrous results for French President Emmanuel Macron's coalition, he was just hanging out with Joe Biden a couple of days ago, prompted him to dissolve the National Assembly and call snap elections. This whole European parliamentary system is inferior to our system. It is far inferior. Multiple parties inferior. Snap elections inferior. Never mind that. Also, every American paper, here's the New York Times, battered by far right in EU. Macron calls for early elections in France. That's the New York Times. Politico. Macron bets the House in election to break far-right momentum in France. CNN. Macron gambles on snap elections after crushing loss to French far-right. You guys, I mean, do you wake up in the same bed every day with one another, heavily lubed up and limping? Because you guys, do you realize how unoriginal you are? That you're all just a centipede and you parrot the same language and the same words all day, every day. Just amazing stuff. I'm telling you. The Associated Press, nationalist parties, far left on the rise ahead of Sunday's federal elections. That's from 3 days ago after the far right apparently took over. Now, what's going on there is pretty interesting in Europe, and that is that the lefties who are open borders, they're being overrun by, in Britain last year, the number one name for a newborn baby boy was Mohammed in Britain. And the marches in the streets of London and the mayor of London and on. Just amazing stuff. So Europe is being overrun by people that are hostile to their culture. Britain, Ireland, Scotland, and across Europe in these elections, what the news media calls the far right are just not the far left, not the let's destroy Western civilization crowd by inviting in millions and millions of non-English speaking, non-French speaking, non-Italian speaking, it's a non-Norwegian speaking, non-Swedish speaking, people that are hostile to your cultures. When I believe in diversity, these fruitcakes do not. I believe in diversity. When I go to Ireland, I like it when it's full of Irish people. When I go to Sweden, I like it when it's full of Swedish people. Last time, my best girl and I were in Stockholm. We went to the parliament, and there were scores, if not hundreds, of Afghan refugees sleeping surrounding the parliament building, a beautiful, classic European parliament building, and hundreds of years old. And they're sleeping out there in cardboard boxes and demanding packages of free stuff from the Swedish people. So after a humiliating defeat at the hands of Le Pen's national rally, France's president is now making a high-risk roll of the dice. So Jupiter will not be eclipsed, the Associated Press writes, getting a little prosy. And certainly not by his nemesis, the face of the far right, Marine Le Pen. And Marine Le Pen, oh no, on the rise. See, but that's because Marine Le Pen is on the side of France, and he's French. But Emmanuel Macron is on the side of the Davos left, of the Aspen left. And they want Europe overrun because white people, Western civilization is very much under assault. Around the world, in Israel, it's under assault. In France, in Italy, it's under assault. And it's not the news media, they're focused on France because that's where they all go on vacation. But it's not just France by a long shot. And the Politico article goes on and on and on endlessly about France. But they could care less about the fact that it's happening all over Europe because Europeans have also had enough of this left-wing drivel, and they see their civilization, their cultures being trashed. And they're being trashed by the flow of illegal and legal waves of immigrants from countries that have no interest. The people have no interest in becoming British or becoming Irish or becoming Scottish or becoming Italian or becoming French, and in many, many cases, becoming American when they come to the United States. And the left is very happy about that because they're hostile to Western civilization. That's kind of a big deal. But all over Europe, what you're seeing is pushback. And so naturally, the news media, which is far left, accuses everybody that's not far left of being far right. It's their way of smearing everyone. And what do these far right people want? National sovereignty to maintain their language, their educational system, their culture, their history, which are under assault just as they are here. Hey, let's take down all the portraits in the Capitol. Let's tear down the statues in the parks. The vandals attacked the monuments, the statues, and the pedestals, the bases of Andrew Jackson and Lafayette Park across from the White House, and of on and on. I think the Rochambeau and more. They're spray painting all kinds of insane graffiti all over these things because the left is here to destroy our civilization and to take away your rights and your freedoms, but also your culture. because they're hostile to us. And in Europe over the weekend, the media in the United States wetting their beds again, wetting their pants again, because the far left isn't dominating and wiping out Western civilization. That's really what's going on. This is a clash of civilizations and the enemy inside the gates. President Trump talked about this over the weekend. More dangerous, I talked about it last week too. The most dangerous entity in the world today is not yet Xi Jinping's communist China. It is certainly not Vladimir Putin. And it's not even radical Islam. It is the left, and most importantly, the American left, the most dangerous entity in the world today, politically and culturally. No doubt about it. Let's take another phone call, Michael. And I'm going to get to President Trump because he talked about some of this at his rally over the weekend as well. Let's go to John, calling from Charlottesville, Virginia. John, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris, from Liberalville, Charlottesville. I was just thinking about something. We see all of these women who are protesting in the Hamas pro rallies. And there are still 19 female hostages. I'm wondering if they're still being subjected to rape, and if those women ever think about it. The feminists, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, I wonder if they ever think about it.
I don't guess that they think about a lot of these things. I don't think they're very well informed. Also, I believe that most of them would say, if you caught them at an honest moment, which I guess could happen, most of them would say, well, the Jews shouldn't be there. The Israelis shouldn't be there. There's this lunatic with the beep Israel stand with Hamas sign yesterday. He was interviewed by someone that came up with his camera, his phone, and a microphone. And the guy said, well, he's basically said, well, they deserved October 7th and the massacre and the rapes and the kidnappings and the brutalization and the torture deaths and so on, because the Jews shouldn't be there. That's their position. Therefore, this is them getting their comeuppance. This is, as Jeremiah Wright said about September 11th, Barack Obama's pastor in Chicago, it's our chickens coming home to roost. And honestly, John, the way that these lefties see things, this is Israel's chickens coming home to roost. That's literally the way. And the left, nobody murders people more prolifically than the left. And I mean, the communist Chinese murdered 50 million to 75 million of their own Chinese people. They're right now enslaving the Uyghur people and torturing them, and they'll kill them for their organs, and they execute them for nothing and send the bill for the bullet to their families. The Chinese literally do that. The Soviets killed 30, 40 million of their own people, not even counting the wars that they wage elsewhere. From Cambodia and Pol Pot to Vietnam to North Korea and every place else. The commies kill. Nobody kills like the commies. And now the Democrat Party is they're part of that, John.
I agree 100%. I just breaks my heart to think what these women have gone through for the last 9 months.
Yeah.
Nobody's speaking up for them.
Yeah, and honestly, and Joe Biden is betraying Israel all over the place. And again, I've got the, you're right to be concerned about this. And, the women that have been held hostage. And you notice that the news media basically doesn't report on it. They don't report on the war in Ukraine, where there may be 800,000 dead now, counting both sides, and they could care less. Hey, let's send them another $20 billion. Zelensky got another $225 million for showing up at Normandy the other day, dressed like he was coming to a keg party. Kegger, woohoo! Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through a war. Yeah, also I got my paraphernalia from the mob down at the White House the other day, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Got to smash capitalism, it's right here. The system where the tiny hand of millionaires and billionaires control the government and the economy. Got to smash capitalism. That was a big part of those were the organizers of the rally, the communists. We're in a tough spot. The Europeans doing something good over the weekend with their elections. You know, the far right. That means they're not communists. That's in the liberal to English translation dictionary. Far right means not communists.
America's chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, I apparently spoke in error earlier and referred to Marine Le Pen as he, which was an error on my part. I know that Marine Le Pen is a woman and has been for a long time. I think she always has been. Her father was the leader of the Conservative Party in France for a long, long time. Jean-Marie Le Pen. He's Marie, she's Marine. They're French. You know, you can't really put a lot of stock in that, can you? Crazy stuff. And so many stories to cover. You know, the gays for Palestine and all that stuff. You know, Israel, the court ruled that they provide asylum to gay Palestinians who don't want to be murdered by their loving parents. Let's grab a quick call. We don't have a ton of time, but let's go to Sam calling from Pensacola, Florida. Sam, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, love you, man. Love your show.
Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know the other day I was grocery shopping. I walked out to my car with the basket full of groceries, loading my car. A lady came up beside me loading her car, and I said, hey, how you doing? She looked at me, and I was wearing an American flag ball cap. She didn't say a word. And I thought, well, isn't that odd? She's rather rude, but I get this all the time, so didn't think much about it. And as she pulled away, I just happened to look, and on the back of her car, she had an NPR bumper sticker.
That's a perfect story. Liberals are all miserably unhappy, aren't they? I mean, they're not happy unless they're not happy.